So we go on to our next section, how to present. And our first speaker here is Dr. Praveen Murli. He's a senior consultant, Vitreoretina and Uvea at the Kochi branch of Eye Foundation Group of Hospitals, with a great academic career, very good surgical prowess, and I'm sure he's going to do a true justice to his talk. On to you, Praveen.
Yeah, just before Praveen starts, I just want to tell all the viewers here. So this session is how to present. Basically, they're all the young Turks who are very well established in their field of vitreoretina. Now they have come up with the flying colors in their examination, and now they are the young practicing retinologists. So they'll be presenting if a case, say for example, a case of rhegmatogenous retinal detachment comes, how should be the ideal case presentation? So they'll try to give you some tips, and for further it will be the first case will be moderated by Dr. N.S. Muralidhar sir, who will try to add on few points about what the examiner might ask and what is very important for the postgraduates to know, at least to pass in for the examination when that case is presented. Over to Dr. Praveen, please.
Thank you very much to ARC and as well as Chitra madam. So it is mainly for all the students who are preparing for the exam. Even though it's a long time since I cleared my exam, I would like to share the best possible way to give a good presentation. Most of us, before you enter the hall, we know the diagnosis either by your colleague or from the internal. And same is with the examiner. They also are not interested in you coming to the diagnosis because they also know that you know the diagnosis. However, they are more keen on how you present, whether the way you present is methodical, how you reach to a differential, whether it's in a stepwise manner, and how confident are you in presenting the case. Also, before entering, you should know your strong points and weak points so that you can insist on those points and or skip those points. So this is a 40-year-old male who presented to us with a chief complaint of sudden onset defective vision in his left eye. So the main presenting history is a defective vision, which is sudden onset of a duration of 3 days, which is progressive and is associated with floaters and flashes, which is a prior history, and it is not associated with pain and redness. So this is the main focus for us. And we can re-insist by saying that the patient has a sudden onset of defective vision and a painless thing. So when we re-insist, we are forcing the examiner to ask us the question. The most commonly they will ask, the next thing is, what is the cause of painless loss in vision? So this is how we lead them to the thing. And you should be happy that you know this answer, and you can go ahead, divide into two formats, like it can be either painless or painful. Painful can be acute congestive glaucoma, acute iridocyclitis, or painless can be in form of central retinal artery occlusion, ischemic vein occlusion, retinal detachment, or massive hemorrhage. If you want them to lead again to further question, you can even tell or repeat the thing that preceding to the symptoms of defective vision, there was some brown particles, certain floaters, which was associated with flashes of light prior to the defective vision. So the next question they may ask is, what is the cause of flashes or floaters of light? So you can, again, instead of directly going to the answer, you can just tell a little bit about floaters, whether it was black or gray dots, whether there were lines, red light, cobwebs, rings. And this all can depict what is the condition in the eye. Like if it is a dark brown or black with lot of showers, it can be like a sudden blood in the vitreous or in the AC. It can be PVD induced. Or flashes you can get either in PVD or migraine, etc. Again, further going to the history, ask for any similar episode in the same eye or the other eye. If the patient had any trauma, there was no history of any redness, pain, watering, exposure to bright light, UV light, sunlight, no travel history, or no other relevant histories. Coming, the next part is about the past history. So you can ask again for a similar episode in the same eye or the other eye, or whether the patient had any procedure or any surgical. The third thing is about the personal history. Go ahead and ask for any systemic illness or any medication also. Family history also similar episode or history of similar illness. post the history, I'll skip the systemic examination where you have to take about the RS, CVS, all the other part, but I'll directly go into the ocular examination. So we go always in a stepwise order. First you say about the visual acuity or the best corrected visual acuity, right eye, left eye separately, the intraocular pressure, right eye, left eye. When you come to intraocular pressure, you have to mention whether it's Schwartz or applanation. Then go ahead with the eyebrow, look for any signs of trauma, if there are any positive signs. Lid and
1 minute left.
I request Dr. Praveen, you can move on to the findings directly.
So when it comes to finding, go ahead. When you are presenting, you have to tell in form of fundus examination. Fundus examination, you have to tell whether you are doing with a direct ophthalmoscope, SITLAM 90D or indirect 20D. Direct ophthalmoscope, you have to again mention in form of you are looking at distant direct ophthalmoscopy, where in the whether you have seen a good glow or a dull glow. So dull glow itself suggests that whether the cataractus is there or whether some pathology is there in the retina. Coming to the fundus picture itself, when you are saying, first say of the normal eye, as a PG you always have to say that the media is clear, then you describe the disc, disc is of normal shape, size.
Go ahead, Dr. Praveen, please.
Yeah, and then of the pathological eye, you can say what is the extent of the detachment, whether it's nasal, inferior, superior. See the amount of detachment, say the clock hours involved, how was the surface, and see the patient both in sitting and lying down position to see for any change in fluid level. And the last is, after all this, you describe what is the differential or go ahead with the diagnosis. Diagnosis, like this patient was left acute subtotal legmotogenous retinal detachment involving the intranasal, supranasal, supratemporal quadrant with macula on or off.
Done, Praveen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Praveen. Though it was a very short time, I apologize for that because we had to discuss a little bit more about many of the other cases as well. So I think I would like Dr. N.S. Muralidhar sir and Dr. Praveen to please moderate this case presentation.
Yeah, I think Praveen covered very well many points in the history regarding the onset, the history of flashes, floaters. Some more things I would say when I am presenting a case of retinal detachment. I would say that I have asked for ocular history, whether patient was wearing glasses, whether the patient is a high myope. This is something we have to ask the patient, whether the patient has history of ocular surgery or a YAG capsulotomy in the recent past. This is something we can say. I have asked and the patient does not give a history of this. Then history of trauma, either a major trauma or even a trivial trauma. We all know that patients with high myopia, even with a trivial trauma, can develop a retinal detachment. And important thing is, what was the vision of the patient before the onset of detachment? Because often we see unilateral high myopes with amblyopia developing a retinal detachment. So it's important to document that the patient's vision was good or not good before he developed the retinal detachment. These are some of the points which you might want to tell the examiner, that, okay, patient had good vision in the eye. He has history of no history of wearing glasses in the past. He enjoyed good vision, no history of ocular surgery, no history of trivial trauma, no history of YAG capsular, like these some of the points. And family history of retinal detachment is an important negative thing that you have to elicit from the patient. Past history of myopia, trauma, ocular surgery, that I think we have covered. So when it comes to the retinal detachment description, you have to describe the extent of retinal detachment, total, subtotal, involving 3 quadrants, 2 quadrants. And most important is presence of tears, retinal breaks. Retinal breaks, you should describe what is the meridian of the break, what is the type of break, whether it's a horseshoe tear, and whether it is, what is the size of the break? It is a small horseshoe tear or a big horseshoe tear or a large hole or a small hole, in which meridian, whether it's in the equatorial region or anterior to equator or posterior to equator. And what are the number of breaks, whether additional pathology is present like lattice degeneration These are some of the things, and presence of other associated things like PVR, presence of star folds, presence of subretinal bands. And if there is PVR, you should be able to grade the PVR at least according to the earlier Retina Society terminology. You may not be expected to grade the RD according to the latest Silicon study terminology or something like that. At least the earlier terminology of A, B, C, D, C1, C2, C3, and D1, D2, D3. At least that much knowledge the candidate should be able to tell, should be able to exhibit. So I think I have finished my comments. Yeah.
I'd like to say
only one more point I would like to ask is pseudophakic eye. Then you must examine the anterior segment and comment on the status of posterior capsule, whether the posterior capsule is intact or broken, whether the IOL is stable, well-centered or decentered, because during surgery, this all may pose a lot of problems.
Thank you.
I'd like to point.
Yes, Dinesh.
Yeah, see, when you talk about sudden vision loss, you have to differentiate that from sudden detection. Sudden detection is that he closed the other eye and found he couldn't see from the other eye. Sudden deterioration means that you were seeing with both eyes. Till yesterday you saw you were seeing, and suddenly you see in front of you the vision in one eye starts dropping. The two are very different. Sudden detection occurs in amblyopic eyes. So you have that, or a pre-existing eye, an eye with a pre-existing low vision. So it's an indicator of prognosis. So it's very important to make this differentiation. The second thing is, for a rhegmatogenous detachment, the detachment has to come up to the ora. So when you say that, when you're trying to make your diagnosis, you will have to say that this retinal detachment came up to the ora. If it did not come up to the ora, it is a tractional detachment. So that is another point. The other thing, because the features which will differentiate a tractional detachment or an exudative detachment from a rhegmatogenous detachment have to be said in your examination. So for example, when you say that the surface of the retina was corrugated, it was not smooth bullous. When you say smooth bullous, it signifies you're thinking in terms of a exudative detachment. When you say corrugated, then you're talking in terms of stage B, rhegmatogenous detachment. So that differentiation has to come. And of course, based on the location of the detachment, then you have to point out whether with Linkoff's rules, or if you couldn't find the breaks, by Linkoff's rules, are the breaks going to be there only? Or if you found the breaks, do the Linkoff's rules and the position of the break explain the detachment? These points must be brought out when you talk about your case.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Don't forget the other eye. Don't forget the other eye.
Yeah, true. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Praveen. All the postgraduates, I think, here need to understand that what we have in this panel, that is the how to present, like Dr. Praveen, who is a senior consultant, we try to bring down to your level and try to make the presentation, try to make the best out of you. We are all putting in efforts. I really appreciate Dr. Praveen to though he has passed the exams long back, but again, we had to come back to the how's the ideal way to present and all these things. I really appreciate your efforts, Dr. Praveen. Thank you so much for volunteering.